Hi, this is Scott Weidenkivowitz, and today I want to talk about SESP, or Shoot, Edit, Size, Print. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because there are a lot of different workflows that photographers can take, and there's certain things that really the software you use doesn't matter. It just comes down to what is comfortable for you and if it can do what you want it to do. Whether you're using Lightroom to do your editing, or using on-one software, or Nik Collection, or Topaz, or MacFont, or whatever you're using, as long as it works for you, then it's the right tool to use. But there's certain things that, certain tools or software that can come in really handy when you need to go to a certain print size. And so today, like I said, I want to talk about SESP, which is what I call Shoot, Edit, Size, Print, and specifically for printing to a canvas at ProDPI. And what I'm going to be showing you is a simple workflow that I take whenever I am printing a canvas. Okay, so here's a photo inside of Lightroom, and I'm going to do a quick edit. I'm not going to walk through this with a very detailed edit because I just want to make it very simple to go through the video quicker. So you can see here it's kind of a cool image. So all I'm going to do is just warm it up a little bit. So I'm actually going to bring the slider just a little bit to the right, and I just warmed it up. And I can even bring down the highlights a little bit so their skin's not as washed out. Now, there's this very simple edit. So I just did the shoot part, which I shot the actual photo. I did as much of the in-camera editing I could do with a good exposure and the framing, etc. And then I would go into my software, which is the edit part of SESP, and I will do my editing. Now, the one other thing I might do is actually remove down here, and Lightroom might not be the best tool for this. You could use Snap Heal for MacFont, or you could use Photoshop to remove this down here, the little bit of distraction. And you can see that Lightroom did a pretty good job. There's still a little bit down here, but it's not the end of the world. I can even go a little bit further if I wanted to and remove that as well. So let's actually remove that. I'm going to put the dot there and then move it. I'm actually going to do this. Actually reversed. There we go. Okay, so now that's all cleaned up in the bottom right. The distraction is removed. Okay, so there's my simple edit that I just did. All right, now the next part is sizing. Now, take a look here. You can see that it's a JPEG. It's a very small image. If I go back to the library screen and we look at the dimensions, you'll actually see that it's a very small image. It's not, I mean, the dimensions, the physical dimensions of the image are large, but it's still a JPEG. So it's compressed. It's not the RAW. I always photograph in RAW. But it's still a JPEG, so I'm very limited to how big I can make it because it's a JPEG. All right, so what I do is for sizing, so shoot, edit, size. Now I need to set the size for whatever canvas I'm going to. So I actually use on-one software's Perfect Resize, which is actually a tool built on their Genuine Fractals algorithm. The software used to be called Genuine Fractals. And then in Perfect Photo Suite 7, they actually renamed it to Perfect Resize. I think it was in 7. It might have been in 8, the current one that they changed the name. But either way, so the way you get there is you go Edit In, and then you go into Perfect Resize. And then it's going to open that up. I'll pause the video. You can see I'm going to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. I'm going to pause the video, and then once that's open, I'll start again. Okay, so here we are. You can see here it's on-one software's Perfect Photo Suite 8. All right, now their suite is designed to have the different applications very easily, you can go in between them. But because I opened Perfect Resize, right now I am only inside Perfect Resize. I would have to load it in Perfect Photo Suite 8 in order to be able to use everything that's inside of the suite. Now you can see here that there's presets and favorites. Just like most software, you can do presets, and you can make favorites of your favorite presets. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the Photo Lab. Now you can see here that there's a lot of print your own type of things, but I'm going to the Photo Lab because I want to take this JPEG and I want to bump it up. Let's say we're going to 16 by 24. So watch what's going to happen. It just did a crop, so this is the crop for a 16 by 24. And then I want to grab the corner and I want to actually expand that. And you can see that the the proportions of the 16 by 24 is identical to the proportions of this actual photo. So I don't have to do any, cropping out of anything. So that's great. Now, the next thing I want to do is you actually want to you take a look here and make sure everything looks good. So you can see it's a 24 wide, a 16 high, resolution 300. You got all that. You can lock the crop, constrain the proportions, all that fun stuff, which is typical inside of Lightroom as well. Now down here, you got your settings. So it's a preset basically. You got a preset of what you're going from. Now I'm going from a low-res JPEG, but if you were going from a RAW, you can just choose it's a landscape or it's a portrait. So let's say it's landscape, even though it's not. It would actually change the way that the algorithms are adjusting the pixels for enlarging from the small JPEG to the 16 by 24 landscape. Now again, this is not a landscape, so I'm going to go to low-res JPEG, and it's actually going to change that around. Now what it did is it would bump up textures, it would smooth out if needed, depending on what is necessary to make this look good enlarged. And of course, you've got different methods here. So, there's a new algorithm, and then there's the old one, the genuine fractals. And that's like, genuine fractals it won many awards when it first came out. And over the years, it won many awards for how amazing it actually can do this task. So the next thing is sharpening. You can see that it's turned on. If I turn sharpening off, you actually see that it does get softer, because when you're expanding the pixels, it will actually get softer. So the sharpening will add that bit of crispness back to the image. So you can see here that it actually looks a lot better. And you can see that the guides are here, and sometimes that does get in the way, but there is a way to hide those. Now, I'm going to keep going down. I'm not going to adjust this because I actually like the default settings that it uses. But I can adjust, I can add film grain if I wanted to. I can tilt, tile it if I wanted to. So if there was, if I wanted more than one image on the canvas, I could do that. And then here's the big thing, especially if you're doing a canvas. If you're not doing a canvas, if you're just doing a metal print, or if you're doing something that doesn't have a wrapping capability, then you don't need this gallery wrap feature. You just set this, you hit apply, and it's going to save it back into Lightroom. Very cool stuff, like you're good to go, and then you just send that to the lab. But I want to do gallery wrapping, so watch what happens when I turn this on. You can see that it now has more guides here. You can see that actually duplicated or mirrored, or on one software is calling it reflect. Most labs call it mirror. And you can see that there's actually another set of hands here from the guy. And that's not the greatest thing right now. So actually what I want to switch it to is stretch, which will actually stretch out the bottom part, like the bottom set of pixels down here. You can see there's still some fingers down here, but it still looks a lot better than having another set of hands. It looks good up here, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stretch it to soft. All right. Now you can see that it's blurred. So now the wrapping part, so this is the side, and some labs actually add white to the behind since you don't actually see it. I know from asking ProDPI that they actually will print whatever is on, so whatever is here, they will actually print it behind. So their canvases are either 1.5 or 2.5 inches wide or deep or thick, whatever you want to call it. So that extra bit that goes behind the gallery wrap, you actually need to add an extra 1/2 inch. So let's say I'm printing a 2.5 inch gallery wrap, right? So that means I have to make it a 3 inch gallery wrap, because otherwise there will be nothing for behind, or won't reach behind. So with ProDPI, you actually have to add that extra bit. So here is the 3 inch, and then the rest of your print. So it's a 16 by 24 with a 2.5 inch wood gallery wrap, and then an extra 1/2 inch for behind the photo, right? So that is pretty neat. And you've got some opacity stuff you can do, so you can actually, like mess with that if you wanted to. Again, I like to just leave it. You can see here it gets a little bit darker. For effect, it could make it nice to just make it a little bit darker, but you don't really have to. So that is really all you have to do. Now when I hit apply, you can see here that there's the apply button. If I hit apply, it's actually going to bring it back into Lightroom for me as a PSD file, which means I can then open it in Photoshop, I can reopen it in the photo suite, or I can edit it in Lightroom, whatever I need to do. Now this is a JPEG starting from a small JPEG, and I'm enlarging to a 16 by 24 PSD file with 2 layers. So this is actually going to be a very large file, probably around 200 megabytes. So after you're done with this, you're probably best compressing the PSD down to another file, maybe a single layer TIFF, or even just a really high quality JPEG, and bring that to the lab. Or really what you need to do is ask your lab what you want to do. So I know though that with ProDPI, if I was to upload a very high resolution JPEG, I'd have absolutely no problem having them print it onto the canvas. So that is the SESP method. So basically you're shooting everything you can on the camera, you're editing in whatever software you have to, then you're bringing it to perfect resize to get the photo exactly how you need it for printing to ProDPI. And of course, the print part is printing it at ProDPI. So you're going to go to the ProDPI website and you're going to order your size, your print, or whatever you're ordering in the exact size you need using their system. So very cool stuff. Thank you for watching and see you next time.